Now I want to turn it over to Denise to talk about how the institutions are responding.
So institutions respond in a variety of ways, and we've been doing this before the pandemic to try to relieve some of the burden of cost on students. So some colleges through their bookstores push rentals of textbooks, so it's much more affordable. They could rent a paper book, or they could rent the access code, but they only get it for a semester. So they don't have access to their materials after the course is over. And if they unfortunately don't do well in the course, they have to rent the book again. We have an arrangement at our school with math where they can rent that big package, My Math Lab or whatever it is. And if they fail in one semester, if they take the class again in the next semester, they don't have to pay the rental again. But, assuming that the students are going to fail and, having to make that arrangement is pretty tough. They should have access to something that's really a core reference source for them through their math career, that basic math book. But, and then they do other things like vouchers. So some institutions will give the students, especially those on Pell Grants, they will give them their textbooks, and then the Pell Grant fund, when the money comes in, the bookstore gets paid back. At our institution, we negotiated as part of our contract with our bookstore that they would give a certain number of gift cards to students. And this is completely unmediated by the faculty member. The student just goes to the financial aid office and declares their need. And then the bookstore, the financial aid office creates a gift card for them that they can take to our bookstore. But that's a small amount of money in the grand scheme of what we actually spend in our bookstore every semester. There's also foundation funds. So some institutions have kind of like scholarships that students can apply for before the semester starts to support them. Like our institution has a couple of different kind of scholarship-like programs where through our foundation, where the student can get up to $500 to support buying their course resources. And of course, there's always open educational resources. And, we talk about OER like it's new, but it's been around for 10 years at least. And a lot of colleges are leveraging some of that. There's textbooks, there's open courses, there's of course the open access journals and monographs and data. And that's tough because we're constantly searching for just the right thing. And then there's this new player on the scene. This one's called the inclusive access model, or automated student billing. So what this is, and I'm sure all of you have heard about it, the publisher or the vendor, in our case at COD, it was our bookstore. They're a big national company. They make an arrangement with a program or a discipline or with the whole school where the student is provided with all of their course materials for a semester, and they're charged for those materials as part of their tuition. So this causes all sorts of issues. First, the student has to opt out. They're automatically opted in. And then you have to create contract language around that. And then the students in courses or in programs that are a little bit cheaper, let's say English, are subsidizing the students that are in engineering because everybody pays the same cost. This is the way it was presented to us at COD. There's a lot of different models for that. But also another thing, student data is the way they use the materials, what they buy, and how often they access them, and all kinds of data points are being collected by a non-college entity. So the college has to put privacy standards into place to try to protect their students' privacy and also get that data. So the data might not be provided unless you negotiate for that data. And another huge issue with this is that, we're entering into a contract and we're also making our students participate in a marketplace over which they have very little control. So it's similar to the textbook marketplace, and we've all heard this before, that we tell our students what to buy. So, you know, we tell them you have to buy this $385 textbook that you can't afford in order to be successful in this class. And they don't really have a choice. It's kind of like being told what car to buy. And especially our students on Pell Grants and other federal funds, they're not allowed to shop around. They have to buy at our bookstores. So we can go to the next slide. So I covered this a little bit already. The contracts are a problem. The student data is an issue. With open educational resources, we are allowed to provide low cost or free options for our students. It's another thing with rentals and these inclusive access models. They have to pay to print their own stuff, and we could provide printing services for them. They have access to their materials forever. So I have 2 textbooks that I used in my undergrad 800 years ago, and they're sitting in my living room right now because I still look at them. And they don't own it. They don't own that knowledge, and that puts them in an unfair position, and it also dissuades them from learning further. So you can go to the next slide. So I've already kind of said some of this stuff, but the way that we looked at it, this is from the Achieving the Dream. This was a study of like 38 colleges that are in the Achieving the Dream program. The way that we looked at it at COD was very similar to this. We're really interested in enrollment and tuition benefits. So if the student is saving $200 on a textbook in one course, they might, like one of our 3 credit hour classes is like $400. They could find another $200 and take another class. We're really interested in our students finishing faster. We all know that we say it's a 2-year associate's degree, but it takes students at least 3 years to complete it. So it makes taking an associate's degree more attractive if they can get through it quicker. Students in 4-year schools, we know that a bachelor's degree does not take 4 years most of the time. It takes 5 or 6 years. And we were interested in increasing enrollment through making college more affordable. And that's just sensible. We're also very interested in, and I sell it as the day one access. So every student in a class has access to all the materials, the instructor and the course, and they all start out on the same foot. So that's very appealing to the people that I work with. Our college is in a district that has a very broad socioeconomic demographic. So some students are very financially capable and others are not. So every student starts out in the same place. And I also talk about, like, you know, this isn't just about students that don't have money. A student that has money still shouldn't be forced to buy a $300 textbook that isn't as high quality as it should be, or everybody should just have the same starting point. And the faculty that are involved, it's so exciting because they own these materials too. They love OER, the ones that are using it, because they can update it on the fly. Like, let's say you're teaching an American government class and you're using a textbook that was published last year. So much has happened since last year. So they can add in like really up to the minute stuff. Or if there's a research study that's changed the way that the instructor or the field is thinking about a particular thing, say in psychology, they can add that on the fly. And they own the materials, they're their baby, and they really love working with students to develop the texts and to develop tests and using open pedagogical models for teaching. So changing the way they teach is really exciting. And then recouping the cost of development. So at the College of DuPage, we just started this last year. We probably spent like $150,000 for faculty grants, which I'll talk about in a second, a little bit more. But for that investment, at the end of next spring, we will have saved our students $1.1 million. So that's a pretty good return on investment, I think.